I died on a rain-slicked highway outside Chicago. My brother's hands on the wheel, his voice on the phone screaming, "You're not family anymore. Bella, you're dead to us." The semi-truck's headlights swallowed me whole. And in that final scream of metal and glass, I saw his face, not panic, but cold calculation, like he'd finally erased the stain I represented. But death isn't the end when you've got unfinished business. It spits you back out, raw and raging, into the body you buried 2 years before the crash. On the morning of my 28th birthday, when the first crack in our perfect family facade spiderwebbed across the breakfast table. My name is Bella Harlan, and the last thing I remembered before the world reset was the metallic tang of blood in my mouth, mixing with the betrayal that had festered since Dad's funeral 5 years prior. I'd clawed my way back from that void, gasping awake in my old queen-sized bed in the Oak Park split level, the one with the faded floral wallpaper Mom had picked out in '98. The alarm clock blinked 7 a.m. December 15th. The date I'd marked in red ink as the beginning of the end, the family holiday planning brunch where my brother, Ethan, first whispered the poison that would unravel us all. I bolted upright, heart hammering like a jackrabbit on meth. Sheets tangled around my legs like restraints from some psych ward I'd never checked into. My hands younger, unscarred, nails not chipped from frantic digging and hospital waiting room vending machines, flew to my throat, feeling for the phantom chokehold of the seatbelt that had snapped my neck. Nothing. Just smooth skin and the faint scent of lavender from the laundry detergent we couldn't afford after Dad's medical bills bankrupted us. Holy shit, I rasped, voice cracking like it hadn't since high school track meets. It was real. The accident. The trial where Ethan played the grieving brother card to perfection, pinning the crash on my erratic behavior. All of it. Undone. I had one shot to rewrite the script, to burn down the lies that had buried me alive. Downstairs, the kitchen hummed with false normalcy, the drip coffee maker gurgling like it was auditioning for a sitcom. The sizzle of bacon Mom insisted on frying despite her doctor's warnings about her cholesterol. Ethan lounged at the island, scrolling his phone, that trademark Harlan smirk already in place, sharp as a switchblade, honed from years of boarding school charm and Wall Street ambition. He was 32 then, already climbing the ranks at Goldman Sachs, the golden boy who'd inherited Dad's jawline and none of his scruples. "Morning, Belle," he said without looking up, voice smooth as bourbon. "You look like you saw a ghost." Rough night. If he only knew. I forced a laugh, brittle as autumn leaves under tires, and poured myself a mug black. No sugar. Just like the void I'd clawed out of. Something like that. Dreams about Dad again. It wasn't a lie. The dreams were memories now. Etched in acid, the way Ethan's eyes had gleamed when he forged Dad's will, siphoning the life insurance payout into his own accounts while I drowned in student loans from nursing school. I'd been the one holding Dad's hand through the chemo, emptying bedpans and whispering bad jokes to make him smile, while Ethan jetted off to networking events in Manhattan. And when the money vanished, he gaslit me into believing I'd mismanaged it all. The dutiful daughter turned scapegoat. Mom bustled in, her apron dusted with flour from the scones she baked obsessively since Dad's death, like butter and raisins could glue a family back together. "Bella."
"Honey, sit."
"Ethan's got big news for the holidays." Her eyes, crow's feet deepening with every forced smile, darted between us like she was refereeing a cage match she pretended wasn't happening. Ethan set his phone down, leaning forward with that predatory gleam, the one I'd seen in the rearview mirror seconds before impact.
"All right."
"Family meeting," he announced. clapping his hands like he was calling a boardroom to order. This year's Thanksgiving? No drama. No stragglers. Only for real family, the blood Harlans. No plus ones. No exes dragging baggage. His gaze flicked to me, pointed as a stiletto. I knew what he meant. My then boyfriend, Marcus. The black artist from Southside who dared to call out Ethan's casual racism at our last dinner. Marcus, who'd stuck by me when Ethan tried to loan me money with strings attached that would have chained me to his firm forever. Real family. My ass. It was code for control, for erasing anyone who threatened the narrative Ethan had scripted, him as the savior, me as the screw-up. I sipped my coffee, letting the burn ground me, timelines colliding in my skull like rush hour pileups on the Dan Ryan. In the life I'd lost, that brunch had escalated into a screaming match. I'd stormed out, vowing to expose the embezzlement I'd uncovered in Dad's old ledgers, millions funneled through shell companies to fund Ethan's coke habit and mistresses. He'd followed me to talk, and that talk ended with my body twisted in the wreckage. His tears at the funeral as authentic as a knockoff Rolex. But this time, I smiled. Slow and serpentine. Sounds exclusive. Who's curating the guest list? You gonna vet us for purity? He chuckled. But it didn't reach his eyes, those cold blue chips that mirrored Dad's but lacked the warmth. Someone's gotta keep the ship steady.
Sis.
After what happened with. You know. The pause hung heavy, loaded with the unspoken, my instability, the breakdowns I'd faked to cope with the grief he'd manufactured. Mom cleared her throat, plating scones like peace offerings. Let's not rehash.
Kids.
Bella, pass the jam. As we ate, I watched them, my family, fractured porcelain painted over with denial. Ethan droned on about his latest conquest, a junior associate named Lila who'd accidentally let him poach her clients. Mom nodded along, her laughter tinkling like wind chimes in a hurricane. Beneath the table, my foot tapped a Morse code of rage. I know. The secret I'd died protecting burned in my chest, the ledger, hidden in Dad's study behind the false panel in his gun safe, detailing every illicit wire transfer. Ethan hadn't just stolen money, he'd framed me for tax evasion, planting forged emails on my laptop that I'd only discovered post-crash, too late to fight from a coffin. By noon, the brunch devolved into the annual ritual, divvying up holiday duties. Mom on pies, Ethan on the bird, ironic, given his penchant for screwing the pooch. And me, you handle the seating chart. Belle, he said, tossing me a legal pad like it was alms for a beggar. Keep the drama off the table, literally. I nodded, pen scratching names, Aunt Clara, Uncle Ted, the cousins from Milwaukee. But in the margins, invisible ink of vengeance, Lila. Marcus, the auditor from the IRS. Real family? I'd show him real. That afternoon, I slipped out to the garage. Dad's old Ford Taurus still parked there like a relic from better days. The air smelled of oil and regret, and I popped the trunk, fishing out the spare key to his study. Heart pounding, I crept upstairs, past Mom's humming in the laundry room, and into the sanctum sanctorum. Dust motes danced in the slanted light, bookshelves groaning undertones on constitutional law, Dad's passion, wasted on a son who'd twist the First Amendment to justify his greed. The safe yielded to the combination, July 4th, 76, Independence Day, and my birth year.
Inside.
The ledger waited, leather-bound and damning, pages yellowed with numbers that screamed fraud. I photographed every page with my phone, crisp, incriminating shots that no VPN could scrub. Ethan had buried this deep, but I'd exhumed it in my grave dreams. Piecing together the puzzle, payoffs to silence a whistleblower at his firm, bribes to city councilmen for zoning favors on his flip properties in Pilsen. And me, the fall guy, because I'd dared to question his generous bailout after Dad's death, threatening to go to the cops when the numbers didn't add up. He'd laughed then. 2. Snitch on family? That's how you end up alone. Bella. Dead weight sinks the ship. Back in my room, I uploaded the files to a burner drive, encrypted and stashed in the cloud under a pseudonym, Ghost Harlan. Phase 1. Gather ammo. Phase 2. Bait the trap. I texted Marcus, God. It felt like dialing a lifeline from 2019.
Hey.
Stranger. Coffee tomorrow? Miss your face. His reply buzzed instant. Bella? Thought you ghosted me after that family circus. Hell yeah. 2 p.m. bean? Relief flooded me. Sharp as smelling salts. In the old timeline, we'd broken up after Ethan's smear campaign painted him as a gold digger. This time, he'd be my Trojan horse. The next week blurred into a fevered dream of reconnaissance. I played the dutiful sister by day, helping Mom string lights on the eaves, enduring Ethan's monologues about his ascension at the firm while nights dissolved into strategy sessions on my laptop. I dug into Lila, his latest squeeze, via LinkedIn and a shady reverse image search, ambitious redhead.
25.
Fresh out of Wharton, already posting yacht pics that screamed kept woman. A quick browse of public records revealed her daddy's firm had overlapping clients with Ethan's, conflict of intercity. I anonymous tipped the SEC forum, planting seeds of doubt without naming names. Controversial? Hell yes. But Ethan's empire was built on sand, one gust, and it'd crumble. Thanksgiving loomed like a guillotine, the house swelling with aunts and uncles ferried in from O'Hare. I charted the seats meticulously, Ethan at the head, Mom to his right, me across close enough to strike. And the wild card? I'd invited Marcus, slipping his name onto the list with a note, special guest.
Trust me.
Ethan spotted it during final review, his fork pausing midair over the mock turkey he'd chefed for Instagram. The hell is this? Bella? We said no plus ones. I met his stare, pulse steady as a sniper's breath. Marcus's family.
F.
Real family, the kind that sticks when the checks bounce. Mom's eyes widened, but she busied herself with gravy. Ever the peacemaker. The room crackled, kinfolk sensing the undercurrent like animals before a storm. He's not blood, Ethan hissed, low enough for plausible deniability. And after last time, the way he mouthed off about systemic inequities at Aunt Clara's table? This is Harlan tradition, not some woke intervention. Tradition? I echoed, voice honeyed venom. Like Dad's tradition of fair play. Before you rewrote the rules, the table hushed. Uncle Ted coughed into his napkin. Ethan's jaw ticked, that telltale muscle jump I'd memorized in therapy sessions postmortem. Watch yourself,
sis.
Gratitude goes both ways. But I saw the flicker, fear, buried under the bluster. He'd underestimated me once. History wouldn't repeat. Marcus arrived at 4 sharp, dreads tied back, carrying a bottle of bourbon and a pie from his mom's recipe, sweet potato, spiced with cinnamon that filled the foyer like forgiveness. He hugged me fierce, whispering, "You okay?" Your text sounded intense. I pulled back, searching his eyes, warm brown, unguarded. The anchor I'd lost too soon before. Better now. Just play along, we've got a show to steal. Dinner commenced in brittle civility, toasts to absent dad. Laughter over Ted's golf mishaps. Ethan dominated, regaling with tales of deal closing in Dubai, his hand possessive on Lila's knee under the damask cloth. She giggled on cue, but her eyes darted to me, curious sharp, like she sensed the shift in gravity. Halfway through the bird, as plates clinked and wine flowed, I struck. Speaking of family legacies, I said, casual as passing the rolls, Ethan, remember that time you invested Dad's insurance for us? How's that panning out? The table froze, Mom's fork hovered. Ethan's smile didn't falter, but his knuckles whitened on his glass. Water under the bridge.
Bell.
Let's not bore the relatives. Marcus leaned in, intuitive as ever.
Nah.
Man. Sounds juicy. Bella's mentioned some wild stories, shell companies. Offshore accounts. You in finance. That ring any bells? Lila perked up. Interest peaked. Offshore?
F.
You never said. He shot her a quelling look, but the seeds sprouted, thorny and insistent. By dessert, the air thickened to tar. Ethan cornered me in the pantry. Door cracked just enough for eavesdroppers. What the fuck are you playing at? This your idea of payback for the loan rejection? His breath reeked of Merlot and malice. Face inches from mine, echo of the car. The rage that had veered us into doom. I didn't flinch. Payback? For what? Framing me for your fraud. Or killing me to keep it quiet. The words hung. A grenade pin pulled. His eyes bulged. Confusion warring with calculation. Killing? You're unhinged. That crash was your fault. Speeding. Distracted. Cops said. Lies. I cut in. Voice steel. I saw the brakes fail.
F.
Saw you tamper with the lines after I emailed the IRS tip line. Dad's ledger doesn't lie, neither do I. This time. He lunged, hand clamping my wrist. But Marcus materialized like a specter, wrenching him back. Touch her again. And Real family means assault charges. Chaos erupted, shouts from the dining room. Mom's wail cutting through like shrapnel. Aunts herded kids to the den. Uncle Ted dialing 911 on speaker. Domestic dispute. Send units. Ethan spun. Face ashen. Unraveling in real time. You bitch, you faked it all? The breakdowns. The therapy? To what? Extort me. Extort. I laughed. Raw and ragged. I died for your sins. Brother. Now watch your world burn. Sirens wailed distant.
Closing in.
Lila slipped out the side door. Phone to ear, my anonymous tip had hit pay dirt. SEC vans were en route to his office. Tipped by the ledger PDFs I'd mailed certified that morning. As cuffs clicked on Ethan's wrists in the foyer, rain lashing the windows like applause. Mom clutched my arm. Tears carving rivers. Bella, what have you done? He's your blood.
Blood.
The words soured on my tongue. Blood washes off.
Mom.
Lies, they stain forever. In the aftermath, as headlines screamed Wall Street heir busted for embezzlement, I stood on the porch with Marcus, his arm a bulwark against the cold. The twist? The ledger held one more secret. Dad hadn't died of cancer. Ethan had hastened it, overdoses masked as pain management errors, mercy kills turned murder to inherit sooner. I'd buried that too. In my first death, now. It surfaced in autopsy reopens. painting Ethan not just a thief, but a killer twice over. Karma's a cruel curator, but justice? Sweeter than any Harlan pie. We drove off into the sleet, Marcus's hand in mine, toward a future unscripted, no ghosts. Just us. Real family. Redefined on my terms. The fallout from Thanksgiving hit like a nor'easter off Lake Michigan. Fierce. Unrelenting. And laced with that biting Midwestern chill that seeps into your bones no matter how many layers you pile on. Ethan's arrest made the 6 o'clock news. His mugshot splashed across WGN like a bad tattoo, hair disheveled. That smug Harlan jaw set in defiance, but eyes hollowed out. The emperor stripped bare. Reporters camped on our lawn by dawn. Satellite trucks idling like predators. Their lights carving stark white gashes through the pre-dawn gloom. Mom barricaded herself in the master bath, popping Xanax like tic-tacs, while I fielded calls from distant cousins who'd once fawned over Ethan's prodigy status, now whispering about that poor girl, as if I were the villain for exhuming the rot. MS. Harlan? Channel 5. Did your brother confess to the tampering? Sources say you tipped the feds. Any comment on the family rift? The mic-thrusting vulture at the door looked young. Hungry. Her coat buttoned wrong in her haste. I leaned against the storm door, arms crossed, channeling the cool-eyed forged in the crucible of my second chance. No comment. But if you want the truth, check the ledgers.
Dad's.
Not Ethan's fairy tales. Click door shut. Blinds drawn.
Inside.
Marcus brewed coffee strong enough to strip paint, his presence a quiet anchor in the storm. You good? He asked, sliding a mug my way, steam curling like question marks.
Good as gold, I lied.
Though my hands trembled on the ceramic. The high of the takedown was crashing into the hollow ache of what-ifs. What if I'd confronted Ethan sooner in the old life? What if Mom hadn't turned a blind eye to his entrepreneurial risks? But regrets were luxuries for the living. I was on borrowed time. Every tick of the clock a reminder that this resurrection wasn't a gift, it was a loan shark with compound interest. The real work started now, dismantling the web Ethan had spun, thread by venomous thread. By week's end, the firm suspended him pending investigation. His corner office in the Loop vacated faster than a sinking ship. Lila? She lawyered up, filing a restraining order and spilling to prosecutors about irregular accounting practices she'd overlooked for that promotion bump. Turns out, my SEC nudge had lit a bonfire. Audits rippled out, ensnaring 2 VPs and a city alderman who'd greenlit Ethan's gentrification scams in Logan Square, displacing families like Marcus's for luxury condos with views of nothing but regret. The headlines shifted from scandal to systemic rot, Harlan Ayre's empire built on backs of the working class. Poetic. In a gut-punch way. But Ethan? He didn't go quiet. From Cook County lockup, he lawyered up with Daddy's old firm, irony thick as fog off the lake, and countersued me for defamation, claiming I'd fabricated evidence out of sibling jealousy. His bail hearing was a circus, silk-suited sharks arguing my history of mental instability, dredging up therapy notes from my pre-death spiral, the ones he'd forged to discredit me. Mom testified, voice quavering over video link. Bella's always been sensitive. After their father passed, she changed. Sensitive. Code for hysterical. The scarlet letter slapped on any woman who dares unearth graves. I took the stand in a borrowed blazer from Marcus's sister, hair pulled back tight as my resolve. The courtroom smelled of polished wood and desperation, fluorescent buzz humming like a migraine. Ethan's gaze bored into me from the defense table, promising payback in every blink. You think this ends me? I'll bury you again. But I met it head-on, voice steady as I walked the jury through the ledger. Dates, amounts. The post-it Dad had scrawled in fading ink. Ethan, stop this. For Bella. Gasps rippled. Even the bailiff shifted. He didn't just steal from us, I said, locking eyes with the foreman, a burly guy in a bear's cap who nodded like he'd seen this script in his own family. He erased us, framed me for his crimes, then made sure I couldn't talk. Cross-exam hit like a cheap shot. MS. Harlan, isn't it true you've suffered delusions? Prescribed antipsychotics after your father's death. The defense attorney, a weasel in pinstripes, waved my medical history like a bloody shirt. I leaned into the mic feedback screeching like a banshee. Delusions? Try denial. My brother's the one who dosed Dad's morphine. Fudged the charts at the hospice. Check the timestamps. Nurse logs don't lie. The gallery erupted. Judge's gavel cracked like thunder. Bail denied. Ethan's snarl as they led him away. Priceless.
Outside.
Protesters gathered. Southside activists Marcus had looped in. Signs bobbing. No justice. No peace. Down with gentrifier kings. He pulled me into a hug amid the chants, his heartbeat sinking mine. You slayed Bella.
But what now?
This ain't over. He was right. Ethan's web stretched further, offshore trusts, dummy core in the Caymans. I needed deeper cuts. That night, holed up in Marcus's walk-up in Bronzeville, walls alive with his murals of jazz legends and forgotten bluesmen, I pored over printouts, red pen slashing like a surgeon's scalpel. The controversial play? I'd go public. Not just with the ledger, but Dad's suicide note, a voice memo I'd recovered from his old flip phone, tucked in the safe. If anything happens to me, Ethan,
it's you.
Protect Bella. She's the heart of us. Airing that, it'd shatter Mom. Paint Dad as paranoid. Invite tabloid vultures to pick over our bones. But silence had killed me once. This time, truth was my Excalibur. I leaked it anonymously to the Sun-Times, timing it for the morning edition. Breakfast headlines the next day, dying man's warning, son accused of mercy killing in fraud scandal. Mom called at 6:15. Voice a ghost. Bella.
Why?
The whole neighborhood's talking. Your father, he wouldn't. Sobs choked her. I picture her in that floral robe, clutching Dad's photo like a shield. Guilt gnawed, but I swallowed it. He would.
Mom.
And he did. Ethan's poison. We excise it or die choking. Her silence stretched, then cracked. I knew. Suspected. After the overdose logs didn't match. Thought it was mercy. Your father in so much pain.
Mercy.
The word curdled. You covered for him. For what? His promises of security. Where Harlan's...
Mom.
Blood buys nothing if it's bought with lies. She hung up, but not before whispering. Forgive me. Forgiveness? A bridge I'd cross later. If she earned it.
For now.
The leak torqued the screw. Feds raided Ethan's storage unit, unearthing ledgers 2.0. Crypto wallets fat with laundered Bitcoin. His allies scattered. Lila flipped for immunity. Spilling on bedroom pillow talk turned boardroom betrayals. The twist deepened when forensics matched brake fluid residue to a canister in Ethan's garage. Premeditated, not accident. Manslaughter charges upgraded to murder 1. Christmas Eve. I drove to the jail for visitation. The lot a slushy graveyard of minivans and regrets. Ethan shuffled in, orange jumpsuit clashing with his pallor, chains rattling like Marley's ghost. You win. Bella, he spat. No preamble. Happy fucking holidays. But you think this absolves you? Digging up Dad like some ghoul. You're the monster here. I slid a photo across the table. Us kids, 8 and 10, knee-deep in Lake Calumet mud. Dad's arms around us both. Monster? Look in the mirror.
F.
You killed him for a head start. Me for the rear view. This. I tapped the pic. That was family. You torched it. He sneered, but cracks showed, sweat beading despite the AC chill. I did it for us. Dad was dragging. Bella, cancer eating him alive. Debts piling. I fixed it. You'd have crumbled without me. Fixed. Laughter barked out, startling the guard. You mean forged? The will, the emails, all to make me the patsy. But here's the real twist. Brother, I forgave you.
Once.
In the hospital, post-crash, when you whispered sorry over my tubes. Thought it was remorse. Wasn't, just covering tracks. His eyes widened, mask slipping.
You.
Remember? The room spun for him then. My secret spilling like ink in water. How? Doesn't matter. What does? You're done. 20 to life. Minimum. And Mom? She's talking to a therapist. Finally. Real healing. Not your band-aids of denial. He lunged across the table. Chains yanking him short. Face purpled.
Bitch.
I'll rot you from inside. Appeals. Leaks. Whatever it takes. Guards hauled him. Last words a hiss. Families forever. Bella.
I'll haunt you.
Haunt me? He had no idea. I danced with worse in the dark between lives. New Year's dawned crisp. The city exhaling 2020's breath like a bad hangover. Marcus and I rang it in on his fire escape. Fireworks popping over the skyline. His lips tasting of champagne and possibility. What's next for the avenging Harlan? He murmured, nuzzling my neck. Next, I traced the scar on his knuckle. From a childhood brawl defending his block. College. Maybe. Finish that nursing degree. No loans this time. Settlement from the firms looking fat. And you, gallery show? I'll be your hype woman. He grinned, teeth flashing white.
Deal.
But first, breakfast. My ma's making grits. She wants to meet the woman who toppled an empire. Ma did, too, embraced me like a long-lost. Her kitchen a balm of cornbread and collards. For the first time since waking, I breathed easy, the weight of 2 lifetimes lightening. But peace, fleeting as a snowball in July. Mid-January, the letter arrived, certified, from Ethan's attorney. Not a threat, a confession. Tucked in the envelope. A USB drive, videos, timestamps matching Dad's final weeks. Ethan, syringe in hand, murmuring, for the family.
Pop.
No more suffering. Mercy? Or matricide in slow motion. He'd recorded it for leverage. Insurance against Mom's suspicions.
Now.
Gifted to me. A final twist. Not apology, but abdication. Finish it. The note read, "You're the Harlan now." I watched it once, bile rising, then smashed the drive under my heel. Evidence for the DA. Anonymously dropped. Ethan pled out in February, life. No parole. The courtroom empty save for Mom and me. Her hand finally finding mine as the gavel fell. "I'm sorry," she whispered, "for choosing silence." "Me too," I said,
Meaning it.
Forgiveness isn't erasure, it's excavation. Unburying what's salvageable. Spring thawed the ice. And with it, my roots. Marcus's show sold out. Murals of resilient Chicago. Me immortalized in oils as a phoenix amid flames. Mom downsized. Selling the split level for a cozy Wrigleyville walk-up. Therapy notes turning to gardening clubs.
Me?
I enrolled at Rush. Scrubs crisp. Stethoscope heavy with purpose. No ghosts in the halls. Just the steady beep of monitors. Lives I could save. But late nights, when the city hummed lullabies, I'd trace the scars, faint tire track ghosts on my arms from the wreck that wasn't. Ethan's haunt? A whisper. Fading. I'd won. But victory's a double-edged blade, sharp with what's lost, sweet with what's reclaimed. Real family isn't blood. It's the ones who stay, who fight the current. And this year, only for them. Summer scorched Chicago like a grudge held too long, sidewalks buckling under the heat. Lake Michigan a steamy haze that mirrored the steam still venting from the Harlan scandal. By June, Ethan's trial had wrapped in a plea deal circus. Life plus restitution. His assets liquidated to fund victim reparations, South Side families displaced by his flips first in line. Checks cut with my signature as executrix. The irony wasn't lost, me. The dead weight, now captaining the ship he'd scuttled. Mom bloomed in her new digs. Window boxes overflowing with petunias. Her laughter genuine over Sunday brunches at Balwa. Pancakes stacked high. No more four scones. But closure? That's a myth peddled by therapists with billable hours. Nightmares crept in. Uninvited. The crash in slow-mo. Ethan's profile silhouetted against oncoming doom. His whisper post-impact, "You should have stayed quiet." I'd wake gasping. Marcus's arms pulling me back. His voice gravel rough, "He's gone."
Babe.
Locked in Supermax with Bubba and regrets. True. But ghosts don't need keys. They slip through bars like smoke. The controversial pivot came unsolicited. A book deal from a hungry editor at Knopf. Pitched over iced lattes in Andersonville. Your story's gold. Bella, rebirth. Betrayal. A sister's reckoning. Think Gone Girl meets The Firm. But real. 6 figures. Movie rights implied. I stared into my foam heart. Latte art mocking the organ I'd patched. Spill the saga? It'd immortalize Ethan's sins. Drag Mom's complicity into daylight. Turn my pain into Netflix fodder. Profitable catharsis or voyeuristic vulture feast. Marcus weighed in that night. Sprawled on his thrift store couch. Takeout lo mein cooling between us. Your call. But if it frees you, do it. Just don't let it define you.
Define me?
I'd been defined by death once, reduced to a cautionary tale in Ethan's narrative, the unstable sister, the collateral in his climb. This, reclamation. I signed, deadline looming like a guillotine. Writing it gutted me anew, chapters on Dad's decline. The forged will's cold calculus. The crash dissected frame by forensic frame. I wove in the resurrection oblique, no supernatural fanfare. Just a secular miracle of memory. Synapses firing across the veil. I died knowing. I typed. Fingers flying furious. And woke hating. Fall semester kicked off amid amber leaves. My clinical rotations a grind of bedpans and blood draws. The stethoscope a talisman against echoes. Marcus thrived. His gallery buzz turning to buzzwords, rising star. Afrofuturist visionary. We carved space. Date nights at the Green Mill. Sax trills drowning doubts. Weekends in his ma's backyard. Grilling ribs while she grilled me on wedding bells I wasn't ready to ring. That boy looks at you like you hung the moon. Child, she'd say, fanning herself with a church bulletin. Don't let old devils steal your son. Devils. Plural. The twist I hadn't scripted slithered in October, a letter. Postmarked from a P.O. box in Gary. No return address.
Inside.
A single photo, me and Ethan. Toddlers in the sandbox. Grubby and grinning. Backed with newsprint. A trib obit for Elena Vasquez. 29. Overdose in Pilsen Flophouse. Unknown to me. But the attached note clawed. Ask your brother about his charity cases. She knew too much.
Like you.
And signed. But the scrawl matched Ethan's, prison contraband, smuggled via a guard he'd bought with commissary promises. My blood iced. Elena? A ghost from Ethan's shadows. Another loose end he'd tied off with pills or powder. Her death pinned on addiction, to shield his laundering ops. He'd eluded in our visits. Vague taunts about sacrifices for the family brand.
Now.
From his cage. He reached, not to harm, but to hollow me. Force the hand I'd stayed. Controversial calculus. Go public. Risk painting the Harlans as a dynasty of death. Or bury it. Let another victim fade? I drove to Stateville that week. Visitation lines snaking like a funeral queue. Ethan entered smirking. Bulked from yard weights. Tattoos creeping up his neck. Ironic script. Family first. Miss me?
Sis?
Figured you'd crawl back once the book royalties dried up. Elena Vasquez, I said. No hello. Photo slapped down. His smirk faltered. Then hardened.
Who?
Some junkie from the projects.
Why?
You writing a sequel? Don't bullshit me. She audited your pills and shells. Found the kickbacks. You OD'd her to silence, same as Dad. Same brakes on me. The guard shifted. I lowered my voice to a blade whisper. What else you got buried? A roster of regrets. He leaned in. Chains clinking conspiracy. Plenty. But here's the kicker. Mom knew about Elena. Helped me stage the scene. Accidental bender. Planted track marks. For the family. Bella. Always for the family. Liar. Or was he? Mom's silences replayed, her averted eyes at brunch. The way she'd shredded Elena's name from a client list years back. The web tightened, suffocating. You're rotting, I said.
Standing.
And I'll make sure every thread unravels, with or without your confession. Back home. I confronted her over chamomile in her sunroom, the air thick with fern fronds and fragility. Elena, did you? Her teacup rattled. Saucer clattering. It wasn't. He said she was dangerous. Exposing us all. I drove the car. Bella left her there. Made it look like she wandered in. Thought it mercy. She was suffering. Strung out. Tears tracked. But no denial. Ethan promised it'd end there. Then your father. I couldn't stop the spiral. Mercy again, the Harlan euphemism for murder. Rage boiled. But pity tempered it. She was as much victim as villain. Groomed in grief's greenhouse. You chose him over me. Over Dad. That's the sin I can't forgive, not yet. I left her sobbing. Door clicking soft as a coffin lid. The book dropped in November. Climbing charts on pre-orders and podcast plugs, reborn in betrayal, a sister's fight for justice. Signings blurred. Lincoln Park wine moms clutching copies like therapy tomes. South Side survivors nodding fierce. Royalties funded a scholarship, Harlan Vasquez. For displaced artists, Marcus's touch. turning poison to pigment. But the real high? The DA's call. Ethan's cellmate flipped, trading conjugal lies for leniency. Full confession, Elena.
Dad.
The crash, a trifecta of fratricide masked his fate. Trial 2. Winter whipped, snow blanketing the courthouse steps. Media a blizzard of lenses. Mom testified this time. Voice steady. I enabled a monster. My daughter saved us. Ethan glowered from the dock. Broken nose smirk. Just hollows. Verdict. Death row. Appeals a formality. As they let him out, our eyes met one last. No words. Just the weight of what we'd wrought. Brother to sister. Killer to survivor. Spring equinox. I walked Rush's halls in cap and gown. Marcus whooping from the bleachers. Mom clapping tentative beside him. Diploma in hand. I felt the timelines converge. Past avenged. Future unfurling. We married that summer. Backyard affair in Bronzeville. Ma's ribs. Mom's petunias. Vows etched simple. In sickness. In health. In haunting, we endure. Years spool. Nursing in the ER. Saving the near dead. Marcus's murals on city buses. Stories on wheels. Mom visits Sundays. Her amends in apple crisps and apologies. Ethan? A name in footnotes. His haunt diluted to holiday toasts, to the family we chose. Trungsin wasn't magic, it was momentum. The inertia of truth barreling over lies. I brought the dead to dinner that first Thanksgiving, their voices in my veins. Demanding seats. Ethan didn't expect them. Neither did he expect me. Risen. To pull out the chair. And in the end, not happily ever after, but wholly scarred. Whole. Harlan no more. Just Bella, alive. Unbowed. Unbreakable.